All right, let's debunk the New York Times.
If you want to understand what Elon Musk is doing now to the federal government, all you have to do is look at what he did at Twitter.
In October 2022, Elon Musk bought Twitter for $44 billion and molded it in his own image.
He focused on mass layoffs, on reducing real estate footprint, and on pushing employees to resign so that he could cut back on payroll and real estate costs.
Now he's taking those same tactics to the U.S. government.
Just look at the email that the federal government recently sent to its workers, offering them a buyout to leave the government.
It echoed a similar message that Elon Musk sent to Twitter employees in November 2022 with the exact same subject line.
Musk uses an approach to his businesses called zero-based budgeting. He's now started to use that tactic in government and say basically government spending needs to come down to zero and line items need to be added back one at a time.
And some of the same people that Elon Musk used during his Twitter takeover are now being deployed to help cut costs at the federal level. So it's worth asking, how successful were Elon Musk's tactics in reducing costs at Twitter? While he's cut costs in slashing back budgets, in reducing headcount by around 80% of people, corresponding revenue has also gone down.
Its valuation per investors has declined significantly from the $44 billion that Musk paid for the company in 2022.
They're just trying to prove what Elon Musk did was a very bad thing.
They're very selective with their information. And the goal is to push a certain narrative to get you to think that what Elon is doing with the government is bad. But they say, hey, if you want to see what he's doing with the government, just look at what he did with Twitter when he took it over. So yes, he cut a bunch of staff that was unnecessary and he cut unnecessary costs down. If we apply that to the government, that means more taxpayer savings and more money for us to get our government out of debt.
This is exactly what I've been waiting for.
But that's not it. All they told you is that revenues have decreased. So let's go back specifically to what he said.
Budgets in reducing headcount by around 80% of people, corresponding revenue has also gone down.
Notice how he didn't say corresponding profit has also went down, because it hasn't. Notice how he also didn't tell you that there was an advertising coup against X.
I was about to say that.
A bunch of platforms stopped advertising on there to hurt the platform since Elon took it over. But let's go back to profit. He didn't say anything about profit or EBITDA.
I'm blind!
Let's read this. Start at the bottom paragraph. In 2021, Twitter reported adjusted EBITDA of about $682 million and about $5 billion in revenue. That was the last full year before Elon took the company private. Now let's go to the top. X reported to investors 2024 adjusted earnings, basically adjusted EBITDA, right, of about $1.25 billion and an annual revenue of $2.7 billion. Investors said that that was a better picture than they had expected and that X's finances hit an inflection point a few months before the election. So even with advertisers working against Elon, the company now has less revenue but produces more profit. And mind you, Twitter was a very, very, very left-leaning company. Over 96% of political donations from Twitter employees went to Democrats. It was a very left-leaning company. It was run by the left. So Elon took that company over, removed all the unnecessary pieces, and removed the people that would be harmful to the platform. Dealt with advertisers trying to destroy his platform, and still turned it around. Now it has more features than ever, and is more profitable than it was when he took it over with less revenue.
And it has more freedom of speech, more communication, more community notes, and I think it's a very great place. Amazing.
And like she said in the beginning,
if you want to understand what Elon Musk is doing now to the federal government, all you have to do is look at what he did at Twitter.
So now let's think about it. He cut the expenses at Twitter, which would mean he would cut the expenses for the federal government, meaning they would require less tax revenue from you and I. He then made Twitter much more profitable. If he makes the federal government much more profitable, that means more access to pay off our debts, and then more access to provide services for the American people. Twitter has greatly benefited from Elon Musk, and our federal government will do the same. The less expenses our government has, the less tax revenue they need to collect from you and I. The less tax revenue you and I pay, the more money we get to keep in our pockets. And the more profitable the government is, the more they can reinvest back into the American people rather than just paying debts. Do not listen to these news outlets. Elon and Doge are doing exactly what we need.
But let's listen to the people that say that Elon is not doing exactly what we need. Dilo, remember to subscribe.
Yeah, I mean, what we are witnessing is a constitutional crisis. We are seeing an executive branch that has decided that they are no longer going to abide by the Constitution in honoring Congress's role in the creation of the agencies, in their role in deciding where money is allocated.
And she is angry that Elon Musk put a pause on U.S. aid because he wanted to audit where the money is going. She was against it. And I am suspicious why you went to Congress and suddenly you're way richer than your salary allows you.
Do you know that her net worth is $83 million? And that is on a House of Representatives salary of $175,000 a year. So if she saved every single one of those pennies, of that $175,000 that United States taxpayers pay her to be in Congress, that would be $1.2 million. I want to know how you turn $175,000 a year or $1.2 million over the course of 8 years into $83 million. I want to know how to do that. Now, I don't know what her other 3 husbands did for a living, and maybe that contributed to some of her income, but that's a little sus. You think that's a little sus?
I mean, it actually makes sense. I don't know where the money is coming from. Maybe insider trading. There's always a possibility. Then again, if she didn't do insider trading, where did she get the money?
To be doing, like, there is a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse within a system.
Audits and waste, fraud, and abuse are not the same thing. So let's decompose these
pieces.
Then
please educate me on
Sure.
What
so an audit is
difference
exactly what you just described,
Yes.
which is, do I know what was delivered to which place?
Right.
The ability to pass an audit or the fact that the DOD has not passed an audit is not suggestive of waste, fraud, and abuse. That is completely false right there. So
what is
now
it
is a question of, it's suggestive that we don't have an accurate inventory that we can pull up of what we have where.
Are you sure about that?
That is not the same as saying we can't do that because waste, fraud, and abuse has occurred.
So in my world,
Yeah.
that's waste.
How is that waste?
If I give you $1 billion and you can't tell me what happened to it, that to me is wasteful. That means you are not responsible. But if you can't tell me where it went, then what am I supposed to think? And when there has been reporting, I mean, this is not, look, I'm not saying this is on you and that you caused this, but I think it's a tough argument to
I'm pretty
make
sure
that
I didn't cause it.
an $850 billion budget to an organization that can't pass an audit and tell you where that money went, like, I think most people would consider that somewhere in the realm of waste, fraud, or abuse, because they would wonder why that money isn't well accounted for. And especially when they see food insecurity on military bases and they see...
You want to talk about that? Because that's a good... we should be talking... I mean,
well,
they're always ready to change the subject, but I'll keep it real. For example, if me and my wife likes to party, we go to a camping concert. We have a bag of condoms that I gave her to be, hold that for us, we're gonna have fun, let's go. And suddenly I find her again and she has less condom or almost an empty box. Can she actually respond, well, just because I don't have the condom, that doesn't mean I've cheated? And the fact that I'm suspicious, I'm the bad person?
Do you trust me?
No thanks, I choose life.
That's how stupid her analogy sounds to me. Because the idea that I can give you money, and because you can't tell me where you use the money, that doesn't mean you wasted the money, then I can say, you know what, next time we're going to do that with your money.
I don't understand where you're trying to go, other than the dollars, which really bother you.
I think it doesn't really bother me. I think it's all connected.
Okay.
I think
tell me that story.
She sounds so condescending. That's like somebody saying, oh, really? Oh, really? Explain yourself, kid.
Tell me how you're thinking about that.
When I see a State Department get a certain amount of money and a military budget be 10 times that, and I see a struggle within government to get people like more basic services, and then that department that got that, I mean, we got out of 20 years of war and the Pentagon got a $50 billion raise. Like, that's shocking to me. Now, I may not understand exactly the ins and outs and the incredible magic of an audit, but I'm a human being who lives on the earth and can't figure out how $850 billion to a department means that the rank and file still have to be on food stamps.
I just find it odd that if you say, well, if you can account for the money and I don't trust you and I don't want to give you the money, red alert, you're a bigot, a misogynist, a patriarchal, Islamophobe, bada bing boom bash, all the labels in the world. But they can do exactly the same thing, but you're not allowed to judge them because they're the high and mighty and know better than you.
Like, to me, that's fucking corruption. I'm sorry. And if that blows your mind, and if you think like that's like a crazy agenda for me to have, I really think that that's institutional thinking, and that it's not looking at the day-to-day reality of the people that you call the greatest fighting force in the world. So I get back to this idea of like, I'm not looking to pick a fight with you, but I am surprised at that the reaction to these questions are, you don't know what an audit is, bucko. Like, that's just weird to me.
Okay.
Okay, the kid has anger issue. Because they have a bunch of policies that makes no sense sometimes.
Kids over 13 have the complete right to make their own decisions about their mental health care. Parents don't have a right to have notice. They don't have a right to have consent about that. Kids over 13 have the complete right to make their own decisions about their mental health care. Parents don't have a right to have notice. They don't have a right to have consent about that.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the Washington State Senate Majority Leader, Jamie Peterson. Sorry if I butcher your name. He had a lot to say.
If they're old enough to get pregnant, they're old enough to make their own decisions about what happens with their bodies. Okay? And parents do not have the right to change that.
So my apology that you find it weird that I find it sauce, that you don't want people to audit so you don't waste money, and then you have people talking like this, trying to defend your party. I do find it odd that when you're 13, you're old enough to know how you're going to use your body, but when you're 18 or older, you're not old enough to know where we need to spend your tax dollars.
Don't get me wrong, ako sa kita bong, puta fire na mi blonde kush hash purple skunk criollo colombici jam jam turlo kita verdeta welcome.